Welcome back everyone to our Blender Audi RS6 modeling course. We are almost completed. I'd say around 92-95% completed. We want to start with the front headlights. By the way, excellent job to you if you've actually stuck with it this entire time. If you've made it this far, huge congratulations. Some additional things we want to do is sort of like bring down these vertices just a small amount. This one perhaps need to be brought up slightly. Perhaps take it forward or take it up a little bit. These ones perhaps a bit down. These ones perhaps need to be leveled up just a little bit also, not too much. You can see along this panel right here, it does need some additional work, which we will certainly work on. Some of these panels need slight adjustment, which we will look into. But these ones right here, they can be brought down a little bit more. And truth to be told, we always planned to adjust this. Things like this, we left it till the last moment. And that's okay to leave things till the last moment. Now, using reference images we can find online. Now, we want to use as much reference images as possible. We're going to start working on the headlight, taking it one step at a chance. So you can see there's an entire housing unit of this headlight that we need to work on. So as you can imagine, we need to get some of these vertices, and do make sure that these vertices are lined up accordingly. Use the blueprint to your advantage to make sure that everything is lined up, especially on this side. Especially in this area, you can see these blueprints, these areas, they need to be adjusted quite a bit, particularly that corner. But whilst we do that, you have to be careful that it doesn't go in the wrong direction. Some of these things you sort of have to adjust them almost one at a time, including these. We want to adjust them one at a time. We're going to continue to adjust these ones also. Same thing with these ones. You want to adjust them a small amount and perhaps carry them down. You can see these vertices also need to be adjusted somewhat, including these ones also. Now that is looking a little bit better, but you got to make sure that it looks good from all angles, from all perspectives. Then we can duplicate these vertices. Want to duplicate those, just carry them forward. We're not going to need all of them. Let's press P to separate. Then we're going to press Ctrl J to join these, but a handful of these we're not going to need. So delete these vertices. Let's merge these vertices. These one, we will also merge these ones. Let's merge those ones also. We'll merge those ones, merge those ones, and we will merge these ones too. At this point, you can then press GY. You can carry that back into the actual headlight unit. From here, we can then use these vertices to line up with our actual model. Then we can extrude. We can extrude and scale inwards. We need to scale down. Just notice we need to remove active element, and let's scale once again. But of course, an important thing is to make sure that the scales are correct. So some gradual adjustment is always needed. Sort of similar to that. At this point, we can then extrude towards the rear. Same thing with the top vertices, we can extrude towards the rear also. We can then view this on its own. Could add some loop cuts to make sure that it fits into the actual unit. Now with some of these, we clearly need to carry these forward, including these ones, group of vertices, just carry those forward. Including these one also, we'll also carry these ones forward. Same thing here. And some of them simply need expanding. Expand on the Z, expand on the X axis also. With this one, gotta bring this down. Same thing here. We'll carry this down. Same thing here. We'll also carry that one down. With this loop, we'll use this to manually adjust it. Make sure that those gaps are almost non-existent. Probably need to expand it a little bit more. Now you got to keep on adjusting this until you've gotten it right, which could take some time, but honestly, for the best results, it's worth it. Like if you want the absolute best results, it will take some time, but it is definitely rewarding. So that's looking a lot better. You can also adjust these vertices to aid this from interfering, if this is something that bothers you. Or you can just move those vertices back just a small amount. Now it all depends on whether or not if it's something that actually bothers you. If it doesn't bother you, then great news. Make sure these vertices are absolutely at the forefront. So that is one part done. Then we get to look at the other areas also. Might have to carry this down a little bit to keep it flowing correctly. Carry this one down a small amount also. Next thing we got to work on is that there is a split within the light unit. Like there's a split somewhere around there. Might be a little bit tricky to make out depending on your blueprint. So that's what we'll work on now. If we can basically use some of these vertices to our advantage, simply by duplicating, simply by using what we already have. Do not forget the importance of your reference images. Those can always be very, very useful. And for now, I think we'll separate these objects to keep them organized. We also need to rotate this on the y-axis. Close-up images like this can really be handy. So you can see this sort of begins from up there. Very interesting. So we'll basically extrude that, carry it up, carry it forward. Sort of begins up there, which is really interesting choice. And it's roughly around halfway in our light unit. Now, how far back does it actually go? Hard to say, but we can use our guess. We will then extrude upwards, not too much of course. Let's readjust these slightly. Let's add a loop cut. We'll need a few loop cuts, to be honest. We'll need a loop cut right there. Let's add another one up there. Let's add another one right there also. And then you can see wrapped inside is this housing unit. But even above that, there's another housing unit for the headlights. And I believe that will be somewhere around there. We can probably duplicate some of these to work with it. We can probably duplicate these vertices and use those to our advantage and carry them in. We'll duplicate these vertices actually. We'll duplicate those and we'll use these ones to our advantage. We'll carry this one out slightly. We'll add a loop cut right there. We'll carry this down somewhat. We need to carry it within. Then we're going to carry this one up. Separate this slightly and add another loop cut around there. Also with this one, we want to separate once again. Probably carry this one back just a little bit. We'll also delete a group of these faces, for now at least. Now we must work on the next housing unit for our headlights. So we'll duplicate one of these faces. We can then press P to separate. Use the vertex group and probably scale this within. Viewing this from the side also, you can see how close they need to be. Probably, I'd say a little bit closer. So carry this down somewhat and carry it within. View this from the top, probably carry it within a little bit more. And we're also going to increase the width overall. We can then extrude and carry it up. And I'm going to want to flatten this out by selecting one of the vertices, carry it up like that, carry it up a little bit more. Can probably add a loop cut right there if we wanted to. I'm going to increase the width of this. I feel like it needs to be a little bit larger. That's looking a little bit better. As for this one, can probably lower the width a little bit. Scale this part down, small amount. And then we're going to scale it down a little bit more. And then we're going to extrude once again and level this out, but manually, of course. Press double G for that one, double G for this one. I just want to give these a balanced amount of space and distance. Can add another loop cut right there. And we're going to carry this towards the rear, just a small amount. A little bit further, that's better. As for this one, that's looking a little bit better. We can then extrude this. Same thing with this, we can then extrude this also. We can then add a loop cut, add another loop cut right there, and another one right here, and another one right there. I'm going to use a few of these faces. I'm going to duplicate them. As you can see, there's an additional slight little line right there that's cut through, almost like it goes around the entire width, which is actually easy enough because we can just duplicate this, P to separate, and it definitely seems like there's almost like there's two different parts to this. So we're going to separate this area. We're going to delete those vertices, and that's great. So now we can actually extrude this and add a loop cut. We might need to raise this a small amount. Probably need to raise this also. And as for all of these, we can probably carry this within just a small amount. The only problem that I'm having is now scaling this just a little bit. That is the only problem that I'm having. Now, once we've extruded the faces, we want to adjust them accordingly to the rest of the housing unit of the headlights. And then we can basically add our loop cuts. Now these vertices, we want to bring those forward just a little bit, carry it down. This is a tricky part to get right, but we're going to add our loop cuts. And keep in mind that this is very, very thin. So if we have to carry this back up, we will, because this is one of those areas that is very, very thin. We will then carry it forward, and we'll adjust all of this as well, so you can see how better that looks. We'll carry these over to the right hand side also. As for these ones, we'll carry those forward. Now that's looking a lot better. These ones, we need to move those in just a bit more. And you can see even on this one, it feels like it goes all the way around. Not entirely sure if it's one sheet of design, and it definitely goes up there as well. How interesting. We'll carry this down a small amount, and then we can extrude this and then extrude it towards the rear. It is quite thin, we'll keep that in mind, and we'll scale this down. But something interesting to keep in mind is that these group of vertices are protruded like that. And even these ones at the rear, we'll carry those back just a little bit. This one, we'll close this off and we'll add a loop right there. This needs to go a little bit further back and be closed up a little bit more. We'll carry this back a little bit more. We'll add a loop right there, well, a vertice, and join those. And this entire group will carry this down somewhat, and we'll carry this one down also. So that's looking a little bit better. Probably need to carry these within just a small amount. Similar thing with these. Now we're going to want to create these little lights. Very, very unique pieces of lights. But first I'll just level these out. That's pretty good. Then we can raise them up, carry them across a bit more. We need to carry this in just a bit more also. And as for these ones, we're going to carry them forward, but not too much. Small amount like that. Dissolve this group right here and add a new one. Dissolve that group also and add a new one. We'll carry this forward just a bit more. Ideally, I would like to level this off so it looks like these are almost joined. That's a little bit better. We're going to adjust this also just a small amount and add a new vertice. Oh, a new loop. We will then take one of these faces, duplicate them, carry them up, and we're going to use this to our advantage. We're going to rotate this on the y-axis, not too much. We're also going to scale, rotate a bit more on the y-axis and carry it down. So you can see these are actually quite slanted. We're going to separate this, view this from the top. We know it needs to be slanted, that's for sure. And it's a bit more narrow, I would say. It's definitely a bit more narrow. What happens if we extrude and carry this up and carry this up? Interesting if we add a few vertices and then of course carry this towards the rear, but it's still a little bit thinner, I'd say. Somewhat like that. With this one, there is a loop that is almost like close to the center like that. Probably a little bit higher, somewhat like that. What we'll also do is delete these faces. Probably delete those faces also. Now the faces at the front, they are inserted and then they're carried towards the rear and inserted again. Somewhat kind of like that, but it looks a little bit better than that. So let's try it again. So if we insert this, carry this within, and insert it again, we'll need to add some loop cuts. Before we do this, let's save in increments. Just in case we lose this work, we can always come back to it. I'm going to insert again. Then we're going to add our loop cuts. We can then add an additional loop cut. Just notice something. It's inserted too far down. We don't want to push it too far in, just a small amount. That's a lot better. Gonna add another loop cut up there and another one right there also. Now this is the foundation of all of our design. We can then use this as a blueprint to adjust all of our designs simply by just duplicating each and rearranging it. And I do think this one is a bit more rotated, kind of like that. Even rotated right there as well. But it looks like this one might also be a little bit rotated. How interesting. They definitely don't feel flat because it's interesting how they work with the rest of the design. Such as with these designs, it feels like it's very much planted on the surface of these designs. So with each of these that we duplicate, we'll rearrange it and carry it within. Same thing once we add and duplicate more of our light units. As for these ones, we can actually dissolve these and essentially redo them because I want them to be almost flat. Now that we've gotten like to a part of our light unit that's more intersected, you can see that it needs to be customized. So we're going to duplicate once again, carry this one up, carry this vertex down, and we'll also carry this entire thing down and adjust it kind of like that. And we will carry this towards the rear a little bit. Then carry it forward, but not too much. Similar thing with this one. We'll also carry this up somewhat, dissolve a vertex there, and add a new one. We will then add another one around here. Keep in mind that there are gaps within this design. You can see even on the blueprints that there are gaps. We'll carry this back somewhat. We'll dissolve these, and then we'll carry this down. We'll add another one of those there. Now these can be a little bit more identical due to their size. They're a little bit more identical, but still the same principle. Only just realized we weren't recording for some parts. Essentially what I've done is I've just continued what we started with these light units, and then I've basically just duplicated this, a few vertices, separate them, and essentially just scale them up just to help create a backdrop. Very basic stuff. From there you can basically just duplicate a couple of these and use these for the next part of our 3D illustration. You see these little things that look like TV screens, like really old TV screens? Those are basically our headlights. And that's what we want to create now. So essentially these ones, we can then scale this further back. Let's turn that off for a moment. We can then scale this further back and scale it up. With these ones, we can then insert and move this back also. Then we can think about adding some loop cuts. Loop cuts to the top, loop cuts to the bottom. Going to insert once again, and then we can basically add some additional loop cuts in these areas. Make sure that it's distinctive and carry these within. So they'll look a little bit like that. You can adjust these more if you wanted to, simply by selecting those vertices. Using the proportional editing, you can expand them like that, expand them outwards, inwards, all sorts. You can either shade these flat also and remove the subdivision if you wanted to keep that old school kind of vibe. Turn off proportional editing, select all, and we can probably scale these down. Excellent. Now below this, there's another one. Well, what it looks like. So if we wanted to, we could actually just duplicate one of these, carry them down, P to separate, and within this we can add another vertex and expand this. Well, I should say another loop cut. We can also expand this in this direction. We can then delete that if we wanted to. Add some additional vertices. Then essentially we can duplicate these faces, P to separate, and dissolve these edges. Well, actually, we might need those for now. So we can actually keep that and just subdivide. Subdivide by a few. We can also delete some of these that we don't need necessarily. That's a little bit better. Using proportional editing, we can do a similar thing. And we might need to select a few of these. That's pretty good. Then select all, turn off proportional editing, scale it down. Then we need to make sure that this is all on the same level. Let's add a loop cut right there. Now you can see this is actually quite further in. So we're gonna tab in, carry this further in. It's almost as far as those ones, almost. We're gonna use this ground unit and we're just going to carry this back. Let's use that to our advantage. Add another loop if we wanted to around there and carry this back quite a bit more. As for these ones, we can then adjust these also. We're going to duplicate this, carry it back, P to separate, select all, and level this off, carry this down, and extrude forward just a small amount. Let's set the normals as well for this. Let's use this in shade smooth. With this one, shade flat, remove subdivision. Actually, I think this one might be shade smooth. I think this one might actually have a proper subdivision. We're going to use these vertices. We're going to duplicate this and use it once again. Rotate it a small amount and carry this up. Reason for doing this is because this actually exists on the actual model. So if we look there, you can clearly see there's another housing unit right there. Once again, my recording has failed me, and I've managed to finish this thing and nothing was recorded. So that was a painful reality, but I'll explain to you the process of what I did here. Essentially, I borrowed this, and we can actually separate this if you'd like, but I then used the vertices at the rear and just carry them towards the rear, you know, just to fill it out. With this one, I simply just took a plane, duplicate that, scale it down, and essentially just extruded these parts, scaled them out, and added some vertices. And then I was able to basically do the same thing in repeat. So fairly simple stuff, to be honest. This part, I literally just duplicated these faces and, you know, just extrude it out to get that type of shape. Really simple stuff. As for these triangular shapes, this wasn't too difficult because I just basically add, fairly simple to be honest, just add a circle. Fairly simple to be honest, just add a circle. Use 6 vertices, align it to view, and what you have there is an hexagon. You can then scale it down, rotate this, expand it, fill, extrude, add a loop cut, use this one, scale it down a bit, and there you got your triangle. And most of this, some of this I just manually did. Scale some of this down to get these sort of shapes. Really simple stuff. So nothing too complicated, just keeping it simple and using some faces to just fill out the rear. So yeah, fairly simple stuff. So I look forward to seeing how this will look once it's rendered. Naturally, we're getting close to that point. We are getting closer to that point of, you know, rendering this. But the final part, you know, just the glass, really quite simple. I just duplicated one of these. I think it might have been this one. P to separate. I just added a couple more vertices and filled the faces as we go along. Added a vertex right there, a loop cut. carry this out just a bit, just like that really. And I just continue filling the faces until I was happy with the results. So unfortunately, I didn't get to record that, but with everything you've learned during this course, you can probably finish that on your own. If you do have any issues, you can always contact me via my email and I can help you to resolve them. But it is looking good. We are getting close. Next lesson, we will tackle the rear brake lights. And it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to turn out. I was actually worried about doing the headlights, to be honest with you, but in the end, it actually turned out looking good. But I always say there's always room to improve. So I'm always looking to improve. But so far, if you've made it this far, congratulations. This is absolutely incredible. Really good work, really good stuff. Let's continue with our Audi RS6 modeling course. Now we'll continue with where we left off. We were essentially finishing the light unit, but then I realized the glass on the outside needs to go around the entirety of the light unit. So we will redesign that. So let's go ahead and delete this one. Another thing also is that inside of the glass unit, there's a wall, a barrier. So we're going to select a group of those vertices, P to separate. We're going to press GY, carry this towards the rear a small amount, and then extrude upwards. Fairly simple stuff. We're then going to press double G, scale it back just a small amount, and we're going to adjust these little by little. And naturally, we need to carry a few of these towards the rear also. And we're going to scale these ones down. We'll add some additional loop cuts around these areas. Scale these ones down also. Add additional loop cuts around this area. A lot of this needs to be scaled down, almost like that. Add another loop cut right there. Add another loop cut right there. We'll scale this one back. Add another loop cut right there and scale this one up. And just like that, we have that natural barrier. I'm going to highlight this group of vertices and we're just going to carry this back almost like that. And with the ground unit, carry it forward, but not too much. Add another loop cut in the center and carry this one forwards and shade smooth. That's great. That's step one. Next up, we can duplicate this group of vertices, P to separate, and then what we're simply going to do is add some additional loop cuts and fill these areas. Just like that, similar principle to what we were doing before. Hardly any difference. Fill those as well. Let's add a loop cut right there. And let's edge this one out somewhat. Then we're going to join those. We're also going to join those. Dissolve that loop right there, or we can keep it for now. May need to add another vertex right there and join these also. We'll then do the exact same thing with this side and join those and join those. I'm going to join those also. That's a lot better. And now we have to manually readjust these vertices. Do take your time with this one. It's very important. This one, we're going to carry this out just a small amount. That is a lot better. Then we can extrude this back just a small amount and move it towards the left-hand side, just a small amount. We will then just add a loop right there, add a couple more vertices right there, and join these. We're going to continue to join these vertices. We're going to delete this face, should not be there. We're going to fill this face. We're also going to delete this one. We're going to set normals. This vertex needs to be brought forward just a small amount. With the entire thing, we'll carry it forward, small amount, not too much at all. And with the entire thing, we'll just drop it down. Again, not too much. We're going to dissolve that area. I'm going to re-add this loop cut right there. Dissolve this area and join. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Separate these slightly and join those. We'll carry this one forwards. Also carry this one forward. We'll carry this one forward also and lower it somewhat. We're going to raise these group of vertices and we will lower these group of vertices. We'll carry this back just a small amount and we'll raise this. Probably need to lower this area. We'll carry these back just a small amount. In fact, quite a few of these can be moved back just a small amount. And we will lower this one, carry it forward, and lower it once again, carry it forward. Okay, that's a lot better. Now we can start thinking about the rear brake lights. Okay, let's begin on our rear brake lights for our Audi RS6. So we're going to want to create the loop that goes around. Now you can see this is a bit more intricate, at least compared to our previous design, so we need to be more forward thinking. This one seemed simple in comparison. One of the things we need to do is to extend this entire profile. So we're going to duplicate these, P to separate, select the new vertices and extrude. View this from the side also, very important, and move this forward. We'll need a loop cut right there, and we need to carry this around kind of like that. Then we'll also carry this out. There we go. Add a loop cut right there, add a loop cut right there. We'll circle around this one. Very important that whatever we do, we get this right. It's also good to reflect on the actual design to see how it actually works. Now this is not as flat two-dimension as I originally thought. As it turns out, this loop is actually a bit more slanted. Carry it to the rear, then add a loop cut right there, add another loop cut right there. It'll end up looking a little bit like that, but this is actually more accurate if I'm being completely honest, and then carry it towards the rear. As for these vertices, we might need to move this up a small amount. So we'll delete this and we will try again actually. We'll duplicate this again, we'll duplicate this again, and we will separate. Then we will extrude and carry this towards the front. It'll end up looking a little bit more like this. Add another loop cut right there, and we will actually carry this towards the rear a little bit also. As for this one, we'll also carry this towards the rear a little bit also, not too much I would say. Possibly carry it up, carry it back. That is a little bit better. It's also looking more like an Aldi wood look. And then we're going to duplicate these edge vertices. Carry this towards the rear, P to separate, select the new ones, Control J to join, and we'll delete various of these that we simply don't have any use for. We'll also merge some of these, merge them by last, merge those by center, select all, carry it back within, and let's continue to merge. Also merge this by center. Good, let's make sure that is save. That's looking a lot better. Well, actually, with this entire thing, we'll extrude this forward. Rather simple part to do. Add a loop cut around this area to sharpen it up. That's better. As for this area, we'll duplicate one of these, P to separate, delete those, select the rest, and extrude this forwards. And carry this towards the edge around there. That's a bit better. Truthfully, underneath there's like a camera, and with this, it actually goes up a lot higher, I believe. Yeah, it actually goes up quite a lot higher. Then we'll carry this towards the right-hand side. That's better. We'll then extrude this up and add another loop cut. That's better. Later on, we can actually can scale it within as well if we wanted it to and just carry it up a bit more. But later we can add a camera if we choose to, license plate, stuff like that. As for these vertices, we're going to duplicate this again, P to separate, and hide one of those. So let's hide that, keep the remaining one, good. Extrude and extrude inwards, but only a small amount. Good, and we can manually adjust some of these. And carry this down also. With these, I didn't notice earlier, but we're going to merge them. That's better. May need to add a couple more vertices around these areas. And then we're going to extrude this inwards. And we're going to extrude it again with the other vertices. That's better. Then we can add a loop cut right there and add another loop cut right there. Add another loop cut right there. Add another loop cut right there. That's brilliant. With these areas, we want to make sure that doesn't seep out. Now we just want to be extra careful there that it doesn't affect the exterior of our design. We may need to carry this within a little bit like that and tuck this one out, small amount. Good. We might need to create another housing unit in this area. Now we can start working on this set of light unit, but even around this, there's additional housing unit right there. So we need to consider that also. And we need to consider how this will look from the side profile. So we can actually use a group of these vertices, P to separate, and let's move this up, flatten this out, carry this over, carry this within just a small amount, and let's extrude down. We'll then extrude this way also, lower this somewhat, and extrude again. Then notice that this is actually protruded out. So one, we're going to carry this towards that area and carry this out. These are actually protruded out. So it's good that we spot that. You can see right there the light unit, some parts of it is actually protruded and it hangs out quite a bit. Then we're going to fill that area. That's looking a lot better. Keep in mind there's also something else. Ironically, these are actually slightly separated. You can see there's a split right there and it goes all the way up. So that split actually follows the entire light unit. So we need to keep that in mind. So those two, we'll fill them. These two will also fill those. And we're going to separate these. And we're going to delete those vertices. Might need to carry this out also just a bit more. Then we can extrude inwards and extrude and scale within. Then we can extrude, scale within, but we need to scale on individual origins. That's a little bit better. Scale on the z-axis and then extrude inwards. Same thing with these vertices right there as well. We'll extrude those and extrude inwards. Select all and set normals. And remember to save. Then we can add some more vertices. We will also add loop cuts around these areas. That's a little bit better. Although we might need to carry these down just a little bit. Just carry them down like that. And let's carry these across. I'll add some additional loop cuts right there. And remember to save that. That's better. Now we can start working on this area. So I tell you what we're going to need is a face. Let's duplicate this, P to separate, scale this up, maybe scale it up a little bit more, move this one up, and move these group of vertices down. With everything selected, we'll move it within just a small amount and then extrude towards the rear. Might need to scale it down a little bit more. Just keep in mind, might need to scale it down. That's it. Let's add some loop cuts. Then we can select these faces, scale within again, and move this one within, not too much, and then scale within once more. Perfect. We then need to add additional loop cuts. That's good. Select all, carry it forward. Select these areas and carry this one up. Select these vertices and carry these ones down. We'll also add additional loop cuts to these areas. Something got messed up right there that I don't quite like. So we can actually delete a handful of these, and what we'll do is that we'll try that once more. So we'll add our loop cuts. We'll select this face, scale within again, move this towards the rear and scale within again. Then we can add some additional loop cuts around these areas. That's pretty good. Then we know we need loop cuts right there also, because this at the top should be edged forward. Alright, this area should be edged forward, small amount, and these vertices should be edged towards the rear, small amount. And then add another loop cut right there. That's good. Duplicate, carry over here, and always adjust it again from all perspective to make sure that it's in line. Duplicate once again and carry this one forwards. View it from all angles. Same thing here. Carry this one forwards. Well, at least forwards based on perspective. And let's adjust these. That's good. Now it's the same thing over here also. Although these ones look a bit more straight. As the one thing I will say is that they look a bit more straight. So we can actually straighten them kind of like that. Not entirely straight, but just a bit more. That's better. And carry this one forwards. And you know what? Adjust this side. carry that side forwards also. And with everything, carry it there. That's better. I just noticed we can add additional loop cuts around the edges right there just to sharpen that off. Give it that distinctive look. That's better. Let's see how that's looking from there. A lot better. But some of these need to be risen. That's better. Raise this also. Raise this also. That's it. And duplicate again. And duplicate again. Let's duplicate once more. And we'll duplicate once more right there. And carry these up. And with every single one, we're just going to carry it forwards. Small amount, not too much. That's better. Same thing with this one. And the exact same thing with this one. And behind all of that, we're going to need some of these vertices. So duplicate those, carry it forwards, P to separate, and let's extrude this up. Let's carry this one out. That's good. And let's extrude this way once again. Move this one up, move this one down. Let's add a loop cut right there. Move this down also. There we go. Good. Now we can just carry it in like that. This one we can extrude it towards this area and add a loop cut right there. And then some solid, this solid sheet of line right there. So add a loop cut right there, add another one right there. That's perfect. And we'll duplicate this face, P to separate, and carry this within. And we'll extrude this, well, scale it, I should say. Dissolve this edge and we will add a new one. That's a lot better. We'll do the same thing with these group of faces. P to separate, and let's carry these ones up. Let's carry these ones down. And let's expand once again. Scale, I should say. Get these ones a little bit closer together. Get these ones a little bit closer together. We'll carry those within like that. Carry these ones within also. And carry those ones within. Also carry this one within. And we'll carry this one back just a little bit. That's good. We'll also extrude this once again. And now we can then move this up. Extrude this again. Move this one down, kind of like that. And we will then move it out just a small amount. We'll move it out again. That's better. And manually adjust this vertex right there. You can see how that one shape. And with this one, we'll carry this one down. That's better. Add another loop right there. Good. Another loop right there also. And perhaps another one right there. Now that's a bit better, and then we can extrude. We can extrude on the Y axes and then press G and X. Move this in like that. That's looking a little bit better. I see. Let's fill that also. And let's join these vertices. Let's add a loop right there and add another loop right there. Add another loop right there, and we want to join those. That looks a lot better. Although these need to be a little bit more harmonious, which makes me think if this area needs to be brought back a little bit like that. Maybe not all of it, but certainly some parts. And then with these, we can then carry these within, carry them back a little bit like that. Separate this small amount, not too much. And with these ones, we'll just carry those down. We probably have to dissolve that edge. Probably add a new edge right there. Let's carry this across and carry it up. Let's carry this group up right there, just a small amount. We're going to duplicate this group, P to separate, and let's delete vertices. With the remaining vertices, we can then extrude. Extrude down and then move this towards the rear, small amount. And let's scale this within. Scale it within a little bit more. There we go. Good, just a bit more adjusting. And we will move this up a little bit. With this area, we'll extrude, carry it down, carry it across, carry it down a bit more, and then extrude it back. And add a loop cut within there. And another loop cut right there. We'll then move these within. Same thing with these group of vertices right there. And with these ones, we'll flatten them out and move them across and move it within again. We'll fill this area, fill this gap, and add another loop cut. We'll also join these vertices, get that loop cut right there. We'll take a group of these vertices and we will separate. We're going to merge these by center, merge those by center and merge those by center, and extrude this one and move it across there. That's better. We're going to extrude this one in that direction, move it up, and we're going to move this across like that. That is good. Then we can extrude right there and extrude again and extrude again. Then we can carry this towards the rear. Same thing with that one, but this one needs to be moved up there, kind of like that. And with both of those, we just carry them within like that. Good. With these, we'll fill. Good. Then we can just fill these areas. And let's add some loop cuts. As for these ones, we can carry these ones back just a little bit. Let's flatten these also. It's good principle. And you know what, with these, you need to carry those out just a small amount, I believe. Including these ones, same thing. That's better. Then we can extrude in like that and add a loop cut around that area, shade smooth. Then we'll duplicate this, P to separate, and let's extrude. Then let's carry this one up, add some loop cuts around this area. With all of these, we're going to scale it on the y-axis, then carry it forward. Same thing there. Quite a tricky area to get right. Might need to do some additional work to adjust that area, or just separate one of these faces, carry this back, and scale it flat. There has to be a solution for this. With these vertices, I'm going to want to carry them out a bit more. Let's add a loop cut right there. That's better. And let's scale it within, scale it forward. Well, extrude, I'd say. That's good. Add some loop cuts around these areas, and let's add some additional loop cuts. So that's better, and then we just need to work on the top unit. Let's duplicate some of these vertices. That's good. P to separate, Control J. We're going to use a handful of these to our benefits. And with the rest of these, we're just going to delete for now. We're going to merge these at center. We're going to carry this within. We're going to fill those and fill those too. We're going to carry this one out just a small amount. So you can see right there, this one kind of falls underneath, just a small amount. So for now, we're actually going to separate these, and using just this one, we're going to extrude and lower it quite a bit, and extrude again, and extrude again. Then we're just going to fill. I'm going to carry this towards the rear, carry this towards the rear also. And then we're just going to lower these. Well, actually for now, just lower these ones. Probably carry this one there. That's a bit better. And extrude this one. Extrude it forward and move it within like that. Extrude this one also and move it forward. There we go. Get a vertice right there. Get a vertice right there, and another one right there. Add another one right there. We'll carry this down. That's good. And we'll carry this one up. May need another loop right there, and drop this one down. Let's dissolve that one and carry the entire thing down. That's better. Now truthfully, this is supposed to edge out just a small amount. But keep in mind whilst doing this that, you know, we don't want to mess up our design. So this is not absolutely essential, but it's an option. Let's carry that one up once again. Carry this one back. Carry it aside. That's good. That's good. Let's carry that one up. That's better. Then we get to work on this side. Okay, interesting. Interesting that this area, it is moved in like that. How interesting. It's kind of like that. Not too literal either, but it is kind of like that. These vertices especially, and we'll carry those down a little bit. We'll carry those within, carry them across, Add another vertex right there. Good. And extrude. That's a little bit better. And it does go the entire width. How surprising. So we'll need to extrude this. Carry it entirely across, kind of like that. And carry it down. Dissolve that area. Flatten this one out. So this area actually needs to come back quite a bit. Good. And then these areas, carry it back. And then carry this up. Add another vertex right there. Carry this one down. That's better. So that's a lot better. Now I believe these areas should also be a little bit lowered. Like it's all lowered gradually. That's a little bit better. With these vertices, I'm going to duplicate this. P to separate. Good. Delete those vertices. Merge these. Merge those. That's better. For the final area, it's like two different housing units. And notice as well, these might need to be straightened up. These might also need to be straightened up because I think we might need to separate these. Yep, might need to. Following with the principle that we've already laid before. Good. Then we can extrude this vertex there, extrude a vertex there, and extrude a vertex there. Now with these two, we want to carry those forwards. As for this one, reposition that one also. That's good. Add a loop right there, add another loop right there. And with these ones, we're going to use those like that. Good. Then we can fill that gap right there. Need another vertex right there. Fill that gap, fill that gap. We're going to add another one right there. Good. Fill that area, dissolve that area, and fill this area also. Join this, select all, Shift N. That's better. Let's add that one there and carry that one towards the rear. That's a bit better. Lower this one also, and carry these ones down. Very good. We can then extrude this one this way. Select these vertices and extrude those also. We're going to want to flatten this one out and carry another vertex right there. Good. With all of those, separate. Very good. Fill that gap also. With this one, we'll add a vertex right there. A loop cut, I should say. These ones, fill those ones also. And as for these ones, fill this one also. Very good. Then we can add a loop cut right there, add another one right there, add a loop cut right there, and add one right there. Then we can insert again, carry within, and insert again. Same thing with these faces. Insert again, carry within, and insert again. Good. Add another loop cut right there. That's great. We probably need another loop cut right there also. And we will add some additional loop cuts on this side. Excellent. We're going to carry this one towards the rear. With these ones, we want to carry these ones towards the rear. These vertices, that's good. Same thing here, carry these towards the rear. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put those right back in. Viewport is starting to slow down, so that's not good. But I'm going to carry these ones right back in because I don't want them interfering too much with my design. The next thing we're going to do is to duplicate a few of these vertices and press P to separate. We're going to merge at center for most of these vertices. Same thing with these ones, we'll merge at center for most of these vertices. We'll separate those and we'll separate these ones. We'll also separate these ones and separate those ones also. Vertices like these will carry this towards the rear a little bit. This is the original group of vertices we duplicated. These ones will also carry these ones towards the rear a small amount. So now we got to create the exterior glass, of course, which is why we'd like to separate these. So let's press P and separate. We'll join those. We'll also join these. Well, actually, just notice this will need to be separated as well. And let's join those two. Then we're going to want to join these two, Control J. But same principle. These will also have to be separated. So let's separate those. Let's join those two. And let's join these two also. We're going to extrude a vertex right there, carry this within a little bit, and we're going to fill right there. Carry this one up. We're going to duplicate this, P to separate, got that new vertice, Control J to join. Fill these two and fill right there. Then we can add a vertex right there and start doing what we do best. As for these ones, we'll fill those ones. As for those ones, we'll also fill right there. We'll fill right there also. And we will also fill right there. Let's see if we can carry this out. Now, it was at this point that I lost my audio during the recording. However, the good news is that the screen recording continued. So as a fun little challenge, I would like you to follow the rest of the course without audio, but you do have the visuals. Based on everything that I've taught you so far, you should be able to complete the remainder of the modeling process for the rear brake lights without any issues. Screencast key is on, and as you can see, I've sped up the video a little bit, but it's fairly simple. The remainder is a simple use of using, just faces, just planes, just to cover up our brake lights. And that's about it. Fairly simple stuff. So hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this course also. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and I will see you in the next episode.